Chanava Vivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanava Yashodanandana Rajashana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jai Radha Radha Nata Radha Radha Nata Radhe. Jai Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan, Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Para Paramhamsa Privracharya Asatistara Jai A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Para Paramhamsa Privracharya Asatistara Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Welcome to everyone. So today we are going to speak on Bhagavad Gita. I'm just going to share my screen with you so it'll be easier for you to see and coordinate. Is it on, Prabhu? Om Namo Bhagavate
Not yet, Mataji.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Maya Kadati Swakadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna to the devotees. So we'll do 7.7 from Bhagavad Gita. Is the screen sharing now? Is it on?
Hare Krishna Mataji, not as yet.
Okay, let me just try again.
Thank you, Mataji. It's sharing now. It's sharing.
So the verse goes as follows. Mata paratram manyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. So we'll do the word. So we'll just recite it 3 times before we do the word for word meaning. Mata parataram nanyat kinchi asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Again. Mata parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. So the word for word meaning. Mataha, beyond me. Parataram, superior. Na, not. Anyat kinchit, anything else. Asti, there is. Dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth. Mai, in me. Sarvam, all that be. Idham, which we see. Protam, is strung. Sutre, on a thread. Maniganaha, pearls. Iva, like. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So these are words from Lord Krishna himself, speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And, he's explaining this, this chapter is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute Truth. So he's talking about himself, right? And let's see the purport and we'll try to explain something. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person. That personality of Godhead is the Supreme Absolute Truth. Is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachid Ananda Vigraha. That is the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead, is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. The authorities leave no doubt that the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalists, however, argue on the basis of the Vedic vision given in the Shateshvara Upanishad 3.10. Tato yad uttarataram tad arupam anyaya anammayam. Ya etad vidur amritas te bhavanti atel tara dukam evapiyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form and is free from material contamination. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalists put more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Svateshwara Upanishad 389 substantiates this as follows. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasya parastat tam eva vidhi vadati mritu eti nanyat panta vidyate yanayam yashmat param na param asikinched yashman nanyo no jayayosti kinched riksha eva stabdho divi tisati ekas tenidham purnam purushena sarvam. I know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conception of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illuminates the transcendental he illuminates the transcendental sky and and as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. So, dear devotees, we'll just go where we read the purport and what Srila Prabhupada is trying to understand. But just to explain, I will try to explain to the best of my ability. And if you also have some inputs, you're welcome to share at the end. I'm indebted to you for this, and we'll see how far we can go. Also, your questions are very valuable, so please try to think of some question that may come up. So we can discuss that at the end of this reading or this presentation. So today we shall present the dichotomy of Krishna's features of the personal and impersonal, features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So amongst transcendentalists, or amongst men in general, people think God is impersonal, that he doesn't have a form. He's some sort of energy, and he's the light like this. So we're going to discuss this in a more detailed manner just now. And then there are devotees who actually think that Krishna is a person, right? And not think, but they know that Krishna is a person. So like this, we are going to share this. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm sort of so yeah. So sorry about that. So yeah, I was saying that actually there are two types of transcendentalists: people who think that God is impersonal, and then there's the devotees, the bhakta, those who are who love Krishna with devotion, love and devotion, and who are trying to come closer to Krishna. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita also he states that if one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, flower, fruit, or little water, I will accept. So this is what Krishna wants. He wants this loving exchange from his devotees. So a leaf, flower, fruit, water can be found anywhere. So in this way, if we offer this to Krishna, then we purchase Krishna. We purchase his heart. So so we're just going to talk about the impersonal aspect for now, and then we'll come to the personal aspect later on. So just for you to understand this, I'm going to give you examples and analogies for you to understand this aspect. So just as on the sun planet, we have the sun god, right? Surya Narayan, we call him Vivashvan, he has a name, who lives on the sun planet, and the sunshine we see is emanating throughout the whole universe, right? It pervades everything in this dark material world. Similarly, Krishna is in Krishna Loka or in Goloka Vrindavan, and he is also pervading everything by his energies, right? Both material and spiritual worlds are pervaded by him. So in the Sri Upanishad, we see that there's a verse that says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead walks but does not walk. He's far, but he's near as well. He's within everything and he's outside as well. So in the Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada states that if someone is basically inside, just say inside the house, it's illogical, to say that he's outside as well. He cannot be in two places at one time. But it's because these are contradictions, right? But we see with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of his all-pervasive feature, he's both inside and outside, right? He's far and he's near. He's far, far away in Golok Vrindavan, and he's near as well, which means that he's in the heart of all living entities. He knows what you're thinking, willing, and feeling, right? So he walks but does not walk. He is seated in the heart of all living beings. And when he comes to this world, we see that, he's with the Pandavas all the time. So he's walking, he's talking, he's, eating. So this is what he does, right? So there's an example in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Uttara. Uttara was pregnant with the Maharaj Parikshit, and we see on the battlefield of Kurukshetra that Ashwatthama released this weapon, right? That was going to go and kill the child in the womb, and the Lord incarnated and entered. He not incarnated. He just entered her womb, and he saved Maharaj Parikshit. So we see that he was outside, with Arjuna, and also he entered her womb. So this is the inconceivable potency of Krishna. And then we see that there's another pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, had a demoniac father named Hiranyakashipu, and he was inimical to Prahlad. Prahlad was a devotee, and his father was a demon, and he tried to kill Prahlad in so many ways, by throwing him down a cliff, by feeding him poison, by putting him in the pit full of snakes. But all the time, Prahlad was chanting the holy names, and that's how he was saved, because the Lord was always protecting him. So eventually, Hiranyakashipu says, well, where is your Krishna? Can you show me your Krishna right now? And he took his sword out. And Prahlad, is he in this pillar? So there was a pillar in the palace, and he asked, is he in this pillar? Yes, father, he's in the pillar, because Prahlad Maharaj could see Krishna everywhere, right? We don't have the eyes to see God everywhere, but Prahlad, pure devotee, he could see Krishna in the pillar. So Hiranyakashipu took out his sword and he slashed the pillar, right, in order to kill Krishna. And out comes Nishingadev, the half lion and half man form, to save Prahlad Maharaj. So we see this is how Prahlad Maharaj was saved from his demoniac father. The Lord appeared because the Lord is in every atom and is in between every atom as well. So we find that the story is fascinating, right? And the Lord is all pervasive by his energies and cannot be seen in that way. And out of his coarsest mercy, he allows his devotees to see him as he pervades the Archa Vigraha, or the deity form of the Lord. So when one installs the deity of the Lord, so there's various mantras that are recited to invoke the presence of Krishna within the deity. So if Krishna is all pervasive, won't he, by the plea of his devotee, come and reside in the deity of himself? And in that way, he accepts the offerings that his devotees offer to him with love and devotion. This is how he reciprocates with his devotees. So the deities may be made out of material elements like stone and brass, like that. So because of our material vision, we cannot see Krishna directly, then he very lovingly he comes as these forms so that we can worship him. So as the verse suggests that the Lord is a thread that runs through the pearls to keep it in place, right? Like a garland of flowers, and you have to have the thread that goes, through it in order to keep the flowers intact. And similarly with the chain and with the string of pearls, right? But yet we cannot see the pearl, we cannot see the string, we cannot see the thread. So you cannot conclude that because I cannot see the thread, that, there's no thread. Like people say that there's no God because I cannot see him, right? Or you cannot say that the thread is impersonal. It has a form, right? So God has a form as well. And he comes down so lovingly when his devotees are in danger. He comes down, and he appeared 5,000 years ago in his original form as Krishna, and then he appeared 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just by chanting these holy names of Krishna, our hearts can be cleansed of all the dust and the grime that's within there. And we can become eligible to go back home, back to the spiritual world. So this is Krishna's merciful incarnation, most magnificent incarnation of the Lord as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So basically all the planets are kept intact by the law of gravity, as the scientists say, right? But we basically believe that there is a law of gravity to some extent, right? And that's how all the planets are staying in place and not colliding with each other. So according to Srila Prabhupada, this is not so. It's not the law of gravity that's keeping it in place. He said it's the manipulation of air that is holding the planets in its orbit. So let's read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. There's a description of the universe and how it's formed and maintained, and everything is there. But it's just one verse. We're just going to do one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let me first of all share the screen with you. Let's see if this is possible. Sharing. So we have that. Okay, before we do that, so please bear with me because my laptop is very, very slow. So yeah, in this chapter, in this 5th canto, it explains in detail. So the translation is very, very long. What I'm going to, at least the Sanskrit, so I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. I'm going to read the translation and the purport. When bulls are yoked together and tied to a central post to thresh rice, they tread around the pivot without deviating from their proper positions. One bull being the closest to the post, another in the middle, and a third on the outside. Similarly, all planets and all the hundreds and thousands of stars revolve around the pole star, the planet of Dhruva Maharaj, in their respective orbits, some higher and some lower, fastened by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the machine of material nature. According to the result of their fruitive acts, they are driven around the pole star by the wind and will continue to be so until the end of creation. These planets float in the air within the vast sky, just as clouds with hundreds of tons of water float in the air, or as the great eagles called Shiana, due to the results of past activities, fly high in the sky and have no chance of falling to the ground. So we'll just read some of this purport and then I will try to explain. According to the description of this verse, the hundreds and thousands of stars and the great planets such as the Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and are not clustered together because of the law of gravity or any similar idea of the modern scientists. These planets and stars are all servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda or Krishna. And according to his order, they sit in their chariots and travel in the respective orbits. The orbits in which they move are compared to the machine given by material nature to the operating deity of the stars and planets, who carry out the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revolving around Dhruvaloka, which is occupied by the great devotee Maharaj Dhruva. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as follows. Yachakshur Esha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Ashesha Teja Yashya Jaya Ramati Samrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Vijami. The translation of that is, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. This verse from the Brahma Samhita confirms that even the largest and most powerful planet, the sun, rotates within a fixed orbit, the Kala Chakra. The Kala Chakra is the wheel of time. In obedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is nothing to do with gravity or any other imaginary laws created by material scientists. Material scientists want to avoid the ruling government of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore they imagine different conditions under which they suppose the planets move. The only condition, however, is the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the various predominating deities of the planets are persons, and the personality of Godhead is also a person. The Supreme Personality of Godhead orders the subordinate persons, the demigods, of various names to carry out his supreme will. This fact is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, wherein Krishna says, Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetunane Nakunteya Jagad Viparivartate. So we won't read the whole purport because it's quite a lot to read. But we'll try to say something on this. So let me go back. Right. So we see that in days of yore, right, they used to basically thresh rice by using bowls that were tied to the pivot and they would go around. So similarly, Prabhupada is using this analogy. That is how the planetary systems are located. so that, when they move around all in a synchronized fashion. So we see that here, Prabhupada is saying that hundreds and thousands of stars and planets like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, which are not clustered together by the laws of gravity, which is proclaimed by modern scientists, because they are deities of these various planets, right? And basically these deities, they ride on the chariot and travel in their respective orbit by the will of Krishna. Thus, they revolve around Dhruvaloka. Dhruvaloka is the pole star, right? And then Prabhupada goes on. He basically quotes Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya Dikshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam He Tunanena Kunteya Jagat Parivarta Vartate. This material energy is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and non-moving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. The orbits of the planets resemble our bodies because both are machines which are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? This is the material world, and everything here is material, including our bodies, right? But we are not this body. We are the spirit soul that's within the body, because we can see this at death. At death, the body dies and the soul moves on, right? The soul is not subjected to death. So basically, it works according to the Kala Chakra, or the time factor. There are millions and millions of universes, and they all work according to the will of Krishna by the manipulation of air. So basically, we see that there are millions and millions of universes. Now, Prabhupada, somewhere else, he states that, if you get a bucket of mustard seeds, right? So how tiny is the mustard seeds? And if you get a whole bucket of them, right? So there's so many mustard seeds. So each mustard seed is compared to a universe. So this is how extensive the universes are. And there's not just one universe, there's millions and millions of universes. So, so similarly, Prabhupada, in the purport, you should read this purport when you have time. It's 523.3. So we see that similarly, Prabhupada says, just as there are clouds that float in air, right, in the sky, and they carry tons and tons of water, especially when there's monsoon in India and when there's heavy rains, right? Recently, we've been getting flash floods, right? So these clouds are carrying tons and tons of water like this. And when the cloud bursts, then all this water comes down and causes a flash flood. So, and then Prabhupada goes on to say that there are huge eagles, right? Big eagles in outer space, basically, and they fly from one planet to another. So how is this so? And Prabhupada says also the 747, the Boeing 747, flies in the sky in a similar manner, and this is made possible by the cooperation between Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Prakriti is material nature. So the combination of these two, and the manipulation of the air causes the planets to float, basically. So then Prabhupada quotes a verse from 544 of Brahma Samhita, and he says, the external potency, Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow potency, the chit potency, which is a spiritual potency, is worshipped by all as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of the mundane world. I adore the primeval Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. So Durga also means fort, and she's the fortress of this material world. This material world is a fort, it's like a prison, and we, the conditioned souls, are within this prison. Now, in my previous class, we spoke extensively on Durga Devi, but I'm not going to go there. So she keeps us here, right, in this material world, this prison house. And when we become inclined to worshiping the Supreme Lord, then she releases us from the clutches of the material nature. So all the demigods are working under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Regarding the great eagles, which are so huge that they can devour an elephant, Prabhupada says in that purport, that they can devour an elephant, right? They fly so high that they travel from one planet to another. And while in the flight mode, they lay eggs that hatch into birds whilst in flight. They are known as Sienna. Although we cannot see them, we can see the eagles of this world, that captures their prey, maybe a monkey or, anything that, because the eagle has a very good eyesight, and like from right above, high in the sky, it can spot its prey, and it comes and pounces on its prey. So Prabhupada uses uses the example of the monkey, how it kills the monkey and it eats them, right? Srila Prabhupada says that the eagle and the cloud is sufficient proof that these large objects can float in the sky by adjustment of air. The scientists want to defy the existence of God, therefore they come up with names such as the law of gravity, so on and so forth, right? Krishna also has a personal form, we know, right? Venum Vanvantam Avabrinda Dalayatakshan Barhavatamsham Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Vijami. And Krishna's form is actually explained in this verse, that I worship the primeval Lord who wears a peacock feather in his hair, who plays on a flute, right? And he's surrounded by thousands and thousands of Lakshmis. So he wears a yellow dhoti, and his body is bluish in complexion. So this is Krishna's form. It's being described to us. And, just by this, by knowing Krishna's form, we get immense taste and pleasure out of it, by knowing that God is a person. Right? Prabhupada once said that we can give you Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can even give you his father's name, his mother's name. We can give you his address, right? And how to actually reach him, and his telephone number. His telephone number being Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because Krishna is not different from his name. When you chant Krishna, Krishna appears before you. And yes, my devotee, what do you want? Right? How can I help you? So in this way, Krishna's name is so powerful. So we see that also his pastimes are enjoyable and they give him pleasure. They are emotions of love, reciprocation with his various devotees. Right? As one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. So in whichever form you worship Krishna, whether as a baby or whether as an adult, as a young boy playing around with his friends, or to be Krishna's mother, Krishna will reciprocate with you. He will become a child to you. Right? This is how merciful he is. So in this way, you can have loving reciprocation with Krishna. In the spiritual world, we can eat with Krishna. We can play with Krishna. We can dance with Krishna. We can talk to Krishna. And devotees who worship Krishna's personal form, gain an experience that far supersedes that of of those people who worship the impersonal aspect of the supreme absolute truth. So I think I've spoken enough. We can take some questions now, if that's okay, and then maybe we'll close with this with the kirtan. Anyone?
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Denton.
Hare Krishna. Fine, thank you. Ranga, these descriptions seem so fantastic. It could create doubts in our hearts, and how could we sort of overcome these doubts?
Yes, thank you so much for the question, Denton. So yes, whatever is described in Shastra, we should accept as the absolute truth, because Prabhupada gave the analogy of if you want to know who your father is, you go to your mother, and she's the best person who can tell you who your father is, right? So Prabhupada gave that, and he says that if we want to know the supreme absolute truth, then we should go to our mother, who is the Vedas, right? The Vedic literatures, in order to know who our father is. And our father is Krishna. And then this knowledge is coming down in line of disciplic succession, from spiritual master to disciple, to spiritual master to disciple, until it comes unto to us. So this, and Prabhupada gives another analogy there, and he says, if you want to get a ripe mango from high above in the tree, right? So the best way is, climb the tree. Many people climb the tree, and they hand the mango from one person to the other, and it comes out in its original form, succulent and tasty, in its original form, right? So similarly, these scriptures are coming down without being adulterated, right? And they're coming down via pure devotees, from spiritual master to disciple, to spiritual master to disciple. Now, Prabhupada's spiritual master is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who is a very great soul, right? And we can read about his life and his activities. And then his father was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he also a very great personality. So like this knowledge is coming down from spiritual master to disciple until it comes to us, and Prabhupada gives us this knowledge, which is unadulterated, and it in its pure form, straight from Krishna's mouth. So that's how we can understand, that's how we can be free from doubt. And you will feel it within your heart, that this knowledge is the absolute truth. And there's no lies in this knowledge, because you will experience it yourself by practicing devotional service. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So once you start practicing Krishna consciousness, then you will experience the joy of Krishna consciousness, and you will understand. Yes. So any other thing? Any other question?
Krishna Mataji, thank you for the wonderful.
Sorry.
Is that question? Mataji, please carry on. Is that Shamin Mataji?
Hare Krishna. So if we are part and parcel of the Lord, okay, and we fall and forget the Lord, okay, what happens then? Will we what happens then? We are part and parcel of the Lord. So my question is, there are very bad and demonic people, in this world. What hope is there for them?
So basically, this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra can actually cleanse the hearts of all people in this world, no matter how demoniac you are. Just by hearing the holy names and by chanting the holy names, your heart can become cleansed. There's so many instances in Sankirtan stories where people were so demoniac, and just by them hearing the holy names or getting a book of Srila Prabhupada, their lives have become transformed. So yes, and if somehow you have forgotten Krishna, Krishna says that, and if you leave your body, you get another body. Krishna says that actually whatever devotional service that you have performed will not go in vain. It will not die with the body, because it's with the soul, right? We are
Yeah.
practicing spiritual life. It's in regard to the soul. So that knowledge you will have with you, right? The soul, and you'll take this knowledge to his next birth, and you will start from where you have left off in this life. You will start at your next birth from there. So either you'll be born in a devotee family, or you'll be born in a rich aristocratic family. So in this way, you will get the opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness.
Jai.
Uh,
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Ranga.
Yes,
It's
Ranga.
it's quite interesting, you're talking about the planets and how they're all interrelated, and how little we know about the planets. They've just recently launched this James Webb telescope, and it's now, I think, 1 million kilometers away from Earth. And I mean, they're discovering bizarre planetary systems which defy what scientists, our so-called brilliant scientists, previously thought possible. So for me, it almost reiterates what you were saying. Like, we all think we're so clever, and now this James Webb telescope is now finding very strange, unexplained anomalies that scientists can't fathom. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. But all these planetary systems are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Vedas, like this. Everything's explained by Srila Prabhupada. And as you go on reading the fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find that the detailed description of the hellish planets are given. And that is like so gross, But as devotees, we know we're not going to go there, right? To visit the hellish regions, because Krishna says you will start from where you have left off in your Krishna consciousness if you haven't completed, or you can go back home, back to Godhead, right? Within this lifetime. So we should all try to make our lives perfect and go back home, back to Godhead within this lifetime. So thank you so much.
Jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your questions. I really appreciate them.
Thank you for having us.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. I wanted to ask you, do you remember the verse from the Bhagavad Gita about the doubting mind?
Can't get it right now. But
There is something. I've forgotten it. They said something about the doubting mind. There's no place for you.
For the doubting mind, neither this world or the next will be.
Yes. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the full verse, Mataji?
I don't remember the full verse, but yeah.
Oh, okay. We can look it up. It's somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita about what happens if you have the doubting mind.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Koduta Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. If you'd like to make any comment or question, Koduta Mataji from Romania.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you very much for wonderful class. I have a question for you. Sometimes I dream Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and some from the past times. What's the meaning of this? Of course, these dreams are very wonderful. What's the meaning? What I must understand from
it
this?
means that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has your back. He is always with you. If you dream of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he's probably the last person you thought of before going to bed. So, it's a nice dream. It's a spiritual dream. And yes, it's very nice. So go on being Krishna conscious, and you'll dream about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Krishna, Radharani, Srila Prabhupada. This is very good.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Krishna
So,
Mataji, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare
I'm
Krishna.
not sure if there's any questions or comments from Ravindra Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very
So
much.
much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you
Hare
for the
Krishna.
class.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Welcome to Devashni Murthy. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for joining us. Is there any comments or questions from anyone else? Thank you so much for Denton Prabhu and is it Shamin Mataji? Thank you.
Shama and Mataji.
Shamin, yes. So thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you.
Mataji,
Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
there is no other comments or questions, Mataji, but if you want to make any more comments from your side, Mataji?
I would just say that, we should not doubt the scriptures given by Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada won't cheat us. He's a pure devotee coming from the spiritual world. And, we should have faith that Prabhupada is going to take us back home, back to Godhead within this lifetime. And so now let's do some kirtan and we'll end here with the kirtan. So this song is entitled Vaishnava Vijnapti, a prayer to the Vaishnava devotees. So let's start. Ei bhara karuna koro Vaishnava Goswami Patita Pavana Toma Dina Kahonai Jahara Nikita Gela Papa Dure Jahan Emana Dayala Prabhu Eva Kotapa Gangara Parasa Haile Haschate Pavan Darasana Pavitra Koro Eto Maragu Hari Hari Sana Aparadhe Dara Hari Naam Tumhasana Aparadha Nahi Paritra Tumhari Dayo Sadha Govinda Vishram Govinda Kohena Mora Vaishnava Param Prati Janme Koriyasha Shaya Niradoli Naratama Korotoya Apanara Bholi Evara Karuna Kuro Vaishnava Gosani Patita Pavana Toma Dina Kahana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll read the translation of this song. A very beautiful translation. So this song is, by the way, is a Bengali song, and it's written by Narottam Das Thakur. So the translation goes as follows: O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify this fallen soul. Where does anyone find a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go far away? After bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges, many times one becomes purified, but just by the sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. This is the great power. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who has committed an offense to Lord Hari. But if he commits an offense to you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda. Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are my heart. I desire the dust of your lotus feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottam Das yours and be kind upon him. So this is a very, very beautiful song, pleading for the mercy of the Vaishnavas to cross over the ocean of this material world of birth and death. So with that, we'll end. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the session. And I'd like to say my pranams to you. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasinjavaicha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.